Hello guys, welcome back to KD Code. In this video, we're gonna discuss about the most interesting project, that is predicting the stock price for next and a number of days. Please don't skip the video, watch until the end so that you will get more insights. If you are new to our channel or didn't watch the previous videos yet, please do watch them. The prerequisite part for today's video is available in the I button. In the previous video, we discussed about how to predict stock price data using machine learning and Python. And of course, we also built a web app for it. But today in this video, we're gonna build an Android app. Before going to the details, let me show you the end product of our Android app. So this is the UI. You can enhance this UI as per your requirements. If you see, the title for our app goes here, that is stock price prediction app. And there are two inputs here. One is to enter the stock ID that you will be getting from the yahoofinance.com website. I'll be showing you how to get the ID from the particular stock like Google, Microsoft, HDFC, Facebook, and so on, any company. You can also watch my previous video to know about the stock ID and the Yahoo Finance website. From that website, you can get that stock ID. And the second one is the number of days in the future you want to predict the values, basically the stock price values. You see a small button here saying predict. You can click on it. The information that you enter, the stock ID and the number of days you want to predict in the future, they will be used in the backend to calculate the future stock price values. The backend will return the future price values, then the app simply displays them in the UI, right? So in just only one click, the dream will come true. You will be getting the future stock price values within seconds. Let me show you the demo now. So first I will be entering the stock ID for Google. It is Goog, and I just want to predict the next 5 days stock price value for this company. So I'm entering 5 here and then click on predict. Okay, so that's it. Now within a few seconds we will be getting the next 5 days stock price values. So and saying that, and it is displayed here in the response, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So hooray, we got all the next 5 days stock price values here. So if you see the day 1, it is 191.29, and day 2 it is 192.59, and day 3 and so on, day 5 for the next 5 days including today, right? So it is saying the stock price value will be kind of increasing in the next 5 days, right? So let's deep dive into the coding part, how I created this Android app. So there are two things here guys, the front end and the back end. The front end will be communicating with the back end to get the predicted values, and it will be displaying it in the front end, right? For the front end we have used this Android Studio, Java to develop the UI part you are seeing now. And in the back end we have used the flask and Python to create the APIs. So let me show you the back end part first and then the front end part, coding part next, right? So guys, this is the back end I'm talking about. So if you observe here, I have created a web app in the same folder here, right? So I'm using the similar code in the flask also. So in the web app, what we have done, we got the stock ID here, Goog, and we also got the number of days to predict. We did all the steps. We imported the model here, and we took the last 100 rows and created the next day's value for the given stock ID, right? We retrieved the data from the Yahoo Finance website using that Boy Finance package, right? And I will not be explaining all of this now because all this information already available in the previous video. As I mentioned earlier, we followed the same flow for the Flask as well. That is the backend for the Android app. I'm using Flask here for building the APIs. The Flask is nothing but a web framework used to create APIs in Python. So I'm using it to create the APIs for our backend. So using this Flask, let me show you how to create the routes first. Okay, first of all, what is route? Route is nothing but if you go to any URL, like, let me show you. If I click Netflix here and I go to the first website, you see this is the Netflix website, right? If I want to sign in, I will click on this button and it will route to this URL /login. /login is called route, and that route redirects me to this web page, right? So in the same way, there is one route for the API we are going to build, and that route will give the response to the front end Android app. Got it? So these are called routes. These will be created in the Flask, that is the backend, obviously. So to create a route, first of all, we have to create an object for this Flask. We can do that using this Flask package, and then to create a route, it is very simple syntax. You have to give @, here, and app. App is nothing but the object we have created earlier, and dot route, and inside that we have to give the name of the route. If we give only /, that is the default route. We don't need to specify any route there. That is the default API we are using. And I created one more, that is /predict, to get the future results as response. Okay, and there is one more thing to mention, that is methods. So methods are nothing but the type of route we are using, whether it is a get type route or post type route. Get URL will be used to get the data, and post URL will be used to post the data. So if you use a get URL, the parameters you are sending to the API, basically to the backend, will be visible in the URL itself. The parameters like the stock ID and the number of days that you are being sent from front end to backend, right? Because it is receiving it, right? So it will receive it and it will predict the future values by taking the data from the Y Finance website, the stock data basically. So if you use the post API, this data, that is the stock ID and number of days you are sending from front end to backend, right? That data will not be visible in the URL. It will be sent as a data in the form. However, for now, I will be using the get request, and I will show it from the browser, the data, how it looks, everything. So that's the difference between get URL and post URL. I just made it post and get so I can use both. So after creating the route like this, I will be taking the inputs from the request, the stock and number of days as I have shown earlier. The stock and number of days here, request.args.get stock. This stock value will be sent from the front end, right? And the number of days. These two values will be assigned to these two variables here, right? So after that, the code I have used mostly is from web app because it is almost same. I will be taking the input, I will be importing the model and creating the output by using the last 100 rows of the data I have scrapped from the Finance website, and the data will be made into the JSON format. From this API will be returning back to the front end, right? So after getting the future predictions, I'm storing it in the temporary variable here, and I'm sending it in the JSON format, right? Basically, I'm returning back to the front end in a JSON format. Before running this app, let me show you a detail here. So for getting the data, I have used my own function instead of using the Finance package. I have created this yahoo getter.py file and this function yahoo finance data. So it will take the input as stock id, start date and end date. It will retrieve the data in between those two dates, and the stock id is necessary for getting the stock details, right? So I created my own function, but instead you can also use this Finance package to do this, like yf.download. It will take the same inputs. Yeah, the data will not change, but I have tried it to make it my own function. You can also do this. Anyway, it will end up getting the same data. Now let's run this app. So after running this app, you will get a new URL here in the output terminal. It will take some time. So if you see here, running on http 127.0.0.1 and 10.67.118.112 and 5000 port, right? This is the URL. This is the API, the default API in which all our Flask server is running. So let me copy this URL first and paste it in the browser. I'm pasting it here. You see, this is the default URL and it is sending the message as hello world, because let me show you the default URL here. I'm using it to return the message as hello world. So same thing it is returning in the browser also here, right? So if I go to /predate, and also it is taking two inputs from the request. So while I'm going to this /predate route, I must view these two inputs also, else these two inputs will be null, right? There is no use of giving null to this route, because we should give that input, then only we'll get the response. So let's do this. We have to go to /predate, and of course it is coming. You see, I have to give question mark and stock. Stock is nothing but the variable I want to send it as an input, and I'm using Google because it is a Google's data. So this is the stock ID for the Google, and I have to use and to send the second input, that is nums day. That is the number of days I want to predict in the future, that is 10. Let me press enter. So it should be giving the next 10 days stock price values. Let us wait. Yeah, hooray. You see the future predictions. This is a key value, and inside that key we have a dictionary. Inside this dictionary we have from day 1 to day 10. See, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 9, day 10 is here. So until day 1 to day 10 it is predicting. So today it is 191.2429. So like that it is predicting. So this is the backend part in which it is returning the correct output, correct response, because as expected the future predictions, and it is the key value pairs, right? So we are set with the backend now. Now we have to find a way to display this information in the UI, that is in our Android app. So let's see our frontend now. The first step to create our Android app is to create a new project in Android Studio. So you can install this Android Studio from the Chrome browser itself. So you can create new project from here. Click on this main menu, new, and you can see this new project. Click on it. So a pop-up will appear like this. You can create an empty activity and click next, and you can give the name for this application, like anything you need, like stock_price predictor, like that, and just finish. Click on finish. That's it. The app will be ready with empty activity, but we have to create all other files, but it will be created with a basic empty page. Got it? Okay. So after creating this app, new project, for our case it is a single page with an header, two inputs, one button and a response, right? So we will be end up changing only 2 or 3 files in the whole project, right? There will be 2 types of files in this project. One is XML file. Let me show you. If you click on this, so click on the folders here, you see there are 3 folders. Manifest, we don't need to touch this file, and Java. This is the Java files where we create our functions, and there is one rest folder. Inside that rest folder we'll see a layout folder. Inside this layout folder there is activity XML file. Click on it. After clicking on it, you see the XML file here, and along with the XML file you also see the layout for our app, right? So this is the basic structure of the XML file you are seeing now. We have very simple design, like header here. This is the test view, and this test view is nothing but the header. If you click on this stock price predictor app, the same thing will be highlighted here in the test view, right? The stock price prediction app, right? And if you click on the enter stock ID input, the same thing will be highlighted here. You see I have added all these things, 2 inputs, button and the response here. You can add it using the XML things here by adding manually, typing the things, edit test, Android, giving the layout, height, the font, input size, everything. You have to give it manually here. Else you can do in very simple steps, like you see here the palette, you can see the test view, you can just drag and drop it like this. So you can do like that also. And buttons, you can just select any of the button as you wish and drag and drop, and you can position them, like select wherever on the app you want to display them, and you just make attachments to the certain elements. so the app will have a good format with having some space between the elements, right? So after drag and drop, if you want to set the color, text, font, you want to change any of them, you can see on the right side there is attributes. You can click on it. It will be showing many things, like you see the style, the input type, and the text size, and the font family, the font color, the text color, everything you can set here, right, for that certain element. You can also set it from the XML also. You see, for the text view, the background color and the font family, the text, it is hard coded one, and the text size, everything you can set here, the width and height. So there are two ways you can set the attributes to your elements. It is from the XML, or you can directly do it from the attributes column here, right? And in the Java file, we'll be creating the functions that are required for our actual backend API call. So how can our Java file knows that whenever we click on this predict button, it should execute a function? It should call that function, right? Here comes the usage of ID. You see this ID? So we'll define an ID to each and every element, like input, button, or text. So if you see here, we have defined the ID for this heading as heading, and input one, that is stock ID. For stock ID, we have defined it as edit text stock, like that, and for number of days it is defined as edit text number of days, like that. So for predict button, it is defined button predict, like that. We have defined an ID for each and every element, right? We assigned them. So we will use this ID in the Java file also, in the Java file here also, to refer the corresponding elements in the XML. Like you see, I have created few functions in this Java file, where I have also used the ID references to that specific elements, like the edit text stock. See, I have stored it in edit text stock. I'm using find view by ID, that is the inbuilt function to retrieve the references from the XML, right? We're using this ID. So after taking the references here, if you see, I have already set an click listener to the button predict, and whenever I click on the button, the values from the inputs are stored in the two variables, the stock and number of days here, and the predict stock function below this will be called after I click on that button predict. So if you go inside this predict stock, I'm creating a new object for the class predict stock task, and it is extending the asynchronous task. So in asynchronous task, there are some inbuilt functions where I have overridden them to call the backend API. Good? Yeah. So that's how I'm calling this URL directly from the local to the backend. The backend should be up when we are calling this URL from here. So I will be running that backend URL, and it will be running in the same IP and port. So it will be easy for our app to recognize the API and get the data from the API. So after calling this URL, I will be getting the data, and that is the JSON data, right? So I'm using this JSON object here and storing it in the JSON response. And after that, I'm getting the future predictions. That is also a JSON object, right? Because it is a dictionary. Inside the dictionary, we see there is day 1, day 2, day 3, and so on, day 10. Whichever number we have given, it will give that many days predictions. So we are having a dictionary like that, and we are iterating over each and every day, and I'm storing that in a string, that is formatted string. Here, I'm appending each and every future value, that is day 1, day 2, day 3, like that, and so on, the length of the future predictions dictionary. I'm adding it to the formatted response here, and at last I am setting the test to the test view response. So the response box which we have created will be used to display these future predictions, right? As you have already seen in the beginning of the video, this is how it is made. So this is the front end. I have used Java Android Studio, and back end I have used Flask and Python. If you have any doubts, please comment down below. So that's it for this video. If you find it interesting, please do like, share, and subscribe, so it will be recommended to others. And don't forget to subscribe again to not miss out any new videos. Thank you. Thanks for watching.